Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Myself, Suganthan. I'm from the Zoho Survey team. So I take care of sales and support for the team, and I've been with Zoho and Zoho Survey for over a decade now. I have seen a number of surveys on a day-to-day basis for various reasons. It could be for market research and so on. So I basically understand what a survey could do across industries. So in today's session, we'll be letting you know what a survey can do with the help of Zoho, and what are the features available in it, and how you can utilize it to build a survey, and what kind of customizations you can do with it, and how you send it out to your audience. And finally, when the data comes in, what kind of analysis are available. That is something that we'll be looking at as well. And of course, we are going to have a live demo today. So you can expect how this tool works. Maybe even if you're a beginner, don't worry, you'll be able to do it on your own. So the agenda of today's session is we'll have a short introduction about what surveys does and what are the key features in it. Then we'll go with the live demo. And finally, it will be a time for Q&A. Meanwhile, if you have any questions in between, please feel free to post it on the Q&A session that will be available on the bottom, so that our panel of experts who are available will be able to answer your queries. And if there's something unattended or something that's really important, we'll cover that during the final Q&A session as well. And for your reference, this session is being recorded. So we will be sharing this recording to you via email as well within a week's time. Because there needs to be some editing needs to be done to trim it if required. So post that, we'll be sharing it to you. So yeah, you can expect the recording as well. All right. So this is the topics that we are going to cover today in this webinar. Maybe if you want, you can also take a screenshot of it. And yeah, I'll cover this on the later slides as well. All right. So why should we set up logics? Before jumping into that, let's first understand what a survey can do. So Zoho Survey, it's a one-stop solution to build your own customized surveys. You can basically create any kind of surveys within this tool. It could be for market research, it could be for human resource related surveys, or employee engagements, customer satisfaction, you name any, you'll be able to do that with Zoho Survey. If at all you're looking at something like to capture some data, survey is the way to go. And when we talk about surveys, it's not like you start from here and end there. What typically happens is when you just have the same set of questions for all your audience, that's where the problem comes, because people find most of the questions, or at least some of the questions, are irrelevant considering the answers they had given on the previous set of questions. That's where the logic comes in. So you can show or hide the relevant questions based on the answers. For reference, are you happy with our service? You could have it like a yes or no. If someone chooses yes, well and good. But if someone chooses no, then you can have a follow-up question asking for, hey, how we could help in improving the services. Now, this specific question is relevant only when someone gives you no. If you're going to have this by default, then it doesn't make sense for the people who are really happy with your service. So logics really help in showing or hiding questions. Now, is it just to the questions? Not really. Even the answer choices in a multiple choice question, you can show or hide to them. Let's say there's multiple choice question, like choose the best brand for a mobile device. You can have the options like Google, Apple, Samsung, Sony for reference, and maybe an other choice as well, so that if someone is using any other brand and they are more convenient or they find it way more helpful, they can mention that as well. Now, for this specific question, you may have follow-up questions for each of these. Now, what we can also do is you can have the questions related to Apple on page 2, questions related to Samsung on page 3, related to Sony on page 4, and so on. By doing this, we can redirect the audience to the appropriate pages rather than going through the questions that is not relevant to them. Because if you're going to be very specific to some of the features in an Android device, then that is not applicable for an Apple user. So vice versa, any features related to iOS, that is not relevant to a Android user. So you can differentiate your questions depending on the answer choices. So you can redirect them to different pages and get the job done. So if someone chooses others out of these things, that is, they're not using Apple, Sony, Samsung, or Apple for reference, whatever brand, or Google. So if they're not using the phone, they're choosing others, maybe they are not your target audience. So on that case, you can set up disqualification logic to eliminate their response, because you don't really want to waste their time, neither you want to look into the data. So you can disqualify them so that the survey ends for them right away at the same page. Now, all these options are very flexible when we talk about surveys using a software that is something like Zoho Survey. And this is pretty much doable with any online or offline survey options. Whereas this is something which can't be done with the traditional paper pen method surveys. That's where you need an online software to do surveys. All right, so let's look into the key advanced features. When we talk about surveys, it's good to have the surveys in the language that the audience or the respondent understand the best. So have your surveys translated into multiple languages. For that, you better understand your target audience. If your survey is being done within the United States, then most of them are comfortable with English. If it's done in other regions, now let's take Canada. So Canada, people do speak English. At the same time, the French speaking are more populated over there. On that case, you can have your surveys translated into French. Maybe you also want it to be translated into Spanish. On this case, you can do multiple language translation and give the option to the audience to select the language that they are convenient. But on this case, what really happens is, as a survey owner, you may not know the French or Spanish or both. What we can also do is we can translate the data back to English for you within the reports, so that you never miss out what they're trying to convey. And it's a win-win situation for you as well as for the respondent. So a translation really helps in getting or gaining more number of responses to your survey, considering the flexibility of having multiple languages. When we talk about survey, it's not just limited to surveys. It's also it can also be used like a quiz kind of a software, where you can assign scores to the answer choices and finally look into the score, whether to say they have cleared the test or they haven't cleared the test. Or you can even utilize it for a generic survey where you have many rating scale questions, like how do you rate our service with 1 to 5 stars? Like that, maybe you want to have a subset of questions like, how do you rate the customer service? How do you rate the product, the quality, and value for money aspect, and so on. So there could be many parameters on it. So instead of checking the data of every single responses manually, you can also assign scores like 5 points to the 5 star, 4 points to the 4 star. So if you're going to have 10 questions, so the total score is going to be 50. So you can easily understand the total score received by each of the respondent. Maybe it could be 40 out of 50 or 30 out of 50, whatever it is, you're going to have easy understanding rather than checking the data manually one by one. So scores can be utilized for this purpose as well. And when we talk about surveys, it's good to have the branding done. That is the URL of the survey. Technically, what happens is when you build a survey, we are going to give you a public link. So anyone who's going to access that link, they're going to leave a feedback for you. And that link will have a branding of Zoho in it. So the link of the URL will be something like survey.zohopublic.com with some parameters. So from a respondent's point of view, it is going to be from a third party like Zoho, not from you. There is a high chance that they may hesitate to even click on the link, assuming that there are many phishing attacks been happening around the world on recent past. So to avoid any confusions over there, you can host the surveys on your subdomain. That is, if xyz.com is your domain, then you can host the surveys on survey.xyz.com with the parameters in it. So this way, it really helps in building the trust. And from the branding perspective, it's from your brand. So from the respondent's point of view, there is no reference to Zoho or any other survey tool while they take the survey for you. Subdomain mapping is really helpful on this case. And you can obviously have your brands in terms of logos or colors within the survey, but the initial click that is really required, that's where the subdomain comes in. So make sure you try having the subdomain if you have a domain for yourself. And when someone completes the survey, you can get notified via email using the email trigger functionality within Zoho Survey. So by default, you can get notified for every single response, or else you can also get notified only when someone gives a negative rating, or maybe they chose a specific choice on a specific question, you can get notified. So based on conditions as well, you can get it done. Maybe it's not just you, you want to circulate this to your team. You can have a generic email address of your team as well, so they get notified. Or maybe you have a ticketing software where your sales rep and the customer service team works on it. So you can directly raise a ticket on your ticketing software with the response of the respondent so that they directly get in touch with the customers on a day-to-day basis. So you never miss out the response, and it's not just a feedback being collected. You complete the loop by addressing it. So this is one way of doing. And maybe you also want to thank the respondent with the email. That is also doable. We can automatically pull the email address of the respondent. Again, it depends on a few factors. Either you need to have a question asking for the email address on the survey, or if you send out the surveys directly within Zoho Survey using the inbuilt email tool, both ways we can fetch the email address of the respondent. And you can also pass on a few parameters along with the URL to capture the data even without asking for it. Maybe you're running the survey for United States as well as for Canada. In this case, what we do is we just capture the IP address of the respondent by default. Whereas if you want to identify based on which regions the data comes in, so we can have the parameters passed like something like country is equal to US and country is equal to Canada, and send the appropriate links to the target audience to make sure that you are able to filter out the responses based on regions if required within the reports. So these are some of the features that will be really helpful. Now, beyond this, when we talk about surveys, it's always good to have an introduction to it to help your respondents understand the purpose of the survey. So by adding a dedicated introduction page, you help them understand what is your expectation to the survey, and they are also being educated about what to expect over there. So when you both are on the same page, you can have much better quality responses, as well as you can avoid any garbage responses in between. And you can also set up terms and conditions for the survey. So only upon agreeing this, they'll be able to proceed further. So you can avoid any kind of legal aspects out of this by setting up the terms and conditions as well. Now, we are talking about designing the surveys, how it needs to look, or what kind of options you can utilize. But what is also really important is what do they see when they complete the survey? So you can have a defined or a custom message being displayed when someone completes the survey. And that specific response can be set dynamically as well. That is not a fixed response like, hey, thanks for your time. Instead, you can also do, like if someone is really happy with your service, you can directly redirect them to the Google reviews or any other review platform that your business is being listed over there. So when they give you a 9 or a 10 out of 10, they are more likely, or they're more satisfied with your service, and they're more likely to give you positive feedback on the review platform. So that's a win-win situation for you. That is, you are gaining much more visibility across other quality prospects as well who are looking for a software or a service that is related to your industry. And for the negative feedbacks, or the ones who are not giving you a 9 or 10, for those you can have different end messages like, hey, thanks for your time, or maybe our team will get in touch with you to understand how we could serve you better. So you can have multiple messages, but depending on the target audience, that is, depending on the satisfaction level, you can have different end messages. So this is also doable with Zoho Survey. Now, in terms of sending out the surveys to your audience, what we generally do is we just give you a link to the survey that's been created. Anyone who's going to access that link, they can leave a feedback for you, and it is going to be an anonymous response by default. You can use any tool of your choice as per your convenience to reach out to your audience. It could be via email, SMS, WhatsApp, Telegram, anything, you name it. You can just forward the link of your choice. Whereas we also have inbuilt email tools where you can upload the list of contacts to whom the survey needs to be sent. And every link that's been generated from here and sent out will be a unique link to every single respondent while using the inbuilt email tool. So with the help of that, we also identify the respondent, like who answered it, just because you gave us the data. So technically, without asking for any personal identification questions, you still identify who they are along with the response. But if in case you want to keep it anonymous, you can still do that by enabling a restriction within the survey form. And you can also restrict the responses, like I don't want multiple responses from the same respondent. That can also be done, because when we talk about surveys, we don't want anyone to any phishing attacks to be done on your survey to spoil the data that's been collected. So this is highly recommended. Again, it depends on the type of surveys that you do. I would actually recommend you to set up the restrictions if you're targeting or posting the surveys on social medias. So that is with the help of IP address, you can restrict, or with the help of devices also you can restrict, so that the bot attacks can be prevented. Of course, we also have an option to enable CAPTCHA, so that also helps in reducing the number of phishing attacks being done by automated softwares. Now, this is well and good when you know your audience, you send it out. Whereas if you don't know your audience, or you're short on time to capture or do a certain research, uh, you can always rely on the market research panel available in Zoho Survey. So you can set the target audience. Maybe you're looking to open up a new restaurant in Chicago. So over there, you assume, or maybe your expertise is towards the Chinese cuisine. So on that case, you want to better understand what is the potential of the market in Chicago. So the target audience could be like between the age of 18 to 40, who are working professionals, either full-time or part-time. So if I want to target this, I can do. So you can purchase a response of 50, 100, or 1,000, anything. So in multiples of 50, you can purchase responses from the panel, and they give you the response. So when we talk about research, uh, it's really helpful in understanding what the market understands or what they expect out of a Chinese restaurant. First thing, are they even looking to have a food out of Chinese cuisine? Yes or no? That will be a straightforward thing. If there are many no's, then you can actually drop it off right away. If someone says yes, then you can also understand what are the key things that they would expect in a Chinese restaurant. It could be a chow mein, or it could be noodles, or fried rice, or crispy chickens, anything that you name that could be served by you on the restaurant. You can get a ranking or get a feedback out of this as well. Like, these are the most commonly things that they would expect to have in a restaurant of Chinese cuisine. So yeah, so you better understand what they need even before you go live. And the money that you spend on setting up a restaurant in Chicago is going to be a huge investment. but just a fraction or a small piece of it you're going to invest in market research that helps you in gaining the data that you collect across surveys, either directly or through market research. And you can also embed the surveys on your website using the iframe or the HTML links. And of course, you can also embed a question of your survey directly within the email tool as well. Because all it matters is the ones who need to click on the link or directly jump into answering the survey. That's the first win for us. Beyond this, they're going to leave a feedback or something, then you're going to analyze it. That's a later stage. But the first thing is they have to click on your link to at least open the survey. So these are some of the ways that you can achieve reaching out your audience. So the survey is designed. We have launched the surveys to the audience. Now, what comes next? The data. The data that comes in are available within the Zoho survey reports itself. And we give you three kinds of options over there. One would be a summary of responses that gives you the overall response for every single question in a graphical representation, as well as a statistics just below that. So you better understand what they are trying to convey for every single question over there. And under individual responses, we are going to give you raw data of every single respondent, so you can also have a look at it. Whereas dashboards is something, it's like an enhanced version of the summary of responses. That's to have the data on a side-to-side basis, or you can even come up with your own set of dashboards by having selective questions over there. And you can also share those data with your stakeholders or with your superiors who needs to have the look at the data that's been collected. So that can also be done. And of course, you can export all the data into a spreadsheet or a PDF or a CSV and so on. There are multiple options available. Now, when we talk about analysis, everything looks cool, but what happens to open-end questions? So for an open-end question, very specifically the long answer, people type their response over there. It could be like, please share your feedback or anything that requires their manual typing. When you have few set of response, like let's say 10 or 20, it's okay, you can have a look at it manually. But when the data is going to be huge, like let's say anything more than 100, it is not really easy to look into the data of every single respondent one by one. So that's where the sentimental analysis comes into action. So it gives you a clear understanding whether the tone of the response is towards a positive, neutral, or a negative way. And the word cloud or the text analysis, it is going to pull out the commonly used words in the sentences that's being used. So AI comes into the reporting functionality with the help of sentimental analysis as well as the word cloud, and not just into reports. You can also build surveys using AI. That is, just give a prompt, like you're looking to do employee feedback survey, just type it and we come up with a set of questions for you. You can further review it and see how it works for you. And then comes the enterprise setup. Now, this is helpful if you want to work as a team or as a group. You can have multiple members being involved in terms of survey creations or analyzing of the data. Zoho Survey does support multiple user license with the enterprise plan. And you can also assign roles to each of the users. So maybe someone needs to look into the survey creation alone, or some needs to be looking at the data that's been received alone. So you can also set up permissions, or you can even have custom roles being developed on your end. So we give you the flexibility of that. So you can also have multiple departments, maybe one for sales, one for marketing. Instead of having multiple licenses being purchased, you can just have one and assign the users or the employees to each of these departments. As a super admin, you'll have complete authority over multiple departments, but as an employee, they'll have access only to their own department, and they'll have no clue either, like what other departments are available within the same account. So that's how you play with the roles and permissions. And when it involves anything more than one member into it, that's where the real risk comes in. That is deletion of data or accidental modifications being done by one or the other user. So we keep a complete track about who did what for the past 180 days, that is 6 months of duration. So you can look into the audit logs, see what went wrong and who did it, so that you can check with them to see what needs to be done or how you're going to rectify that. So that's all about the enterprise setup. Let's jump into the live demo. This is what you're going to see when you're looking to create surveys using Zoho Survey. Just a minute. Yeah. So right from the scratch, you can build your own customized surveys over here. Like if you have a set of questions ready, you can get it done. Or you can also use the quick editor where you just copy paste the content over here and we take care of creating the surveys. And create using AI. This is where you're gonna give a prompt. Let's say market research survey, just name it. We'll come up with certain questions over there. The other options are like to import surveys. So maybe you have your questions ready in a Word document. You can directly upload the document over here. So the formatting would be something like this. You just need to follow the rules over here. And if it's going to be something like this, it's going to turn out to be like this. So it's as simple as that. Maybe if this is a bit complicated, you can just copy paste it as well using the quick editor options. And beyond this, we also have the options to choose from templates. So we have various templates available for each of these categories. Maybe if it's something relevant to e-commerce, you can see what are the questions that is more relevant. So you better you can better understand what kind of questions could be asked, not just thinking about what you want. So maybe we could think like, okay, this is what is ideally good for a survey, but what others do. That is, these templates are being developed by expert panels in the survey community. So you can also take insights about what others were using or others think that could work. Of course, you can modify the questions to your taste over here. You can add few more or delete some of them and further utilize it. The other option is to copy from an existing survey. This is something which may not be handy for you right away, but let's say you started doing surveys and you're looking to redo a survey with minor changes in it, then you can just use the previous survey as a template as well and make those changes over there. I'll try using AI to get started. So I'll just give it a name. Let's say customer satisfaction survey and generate survey. Let's see what comes up. It's going to take just few more seconds and then we'll have the questions ready. So here we go. How satisfied are you with our overall service, like a star rating? How likely are you going to recommend us to your friends or family? This is an NPS question. And yeah, it's a mix and match of different question types. So I think this looks good. What I'll also do is I'll utilize this for now. And here we go on the editor page. So on your left, these are all the question types that is available. So we have like 30 different types of questions to choose from. Now for this specific question, how satisfied are you with the overall service? I give you an initial example. That is, if someone gives you a negative rating, then let's understand what went wrong. So let's add an open-ended question just below that using a long answer. Just drag and drop it to the right and you're good to go. Please help us understand how we could improve and save. Now, this is just another question being added below that. Now, we need to show this question only for a negative rating and not for everyone. So in order to do that, get into this question and choose display logic and add a condition. That is, display this question only if a certain condition is met. Now, the condition is, how satisfied are you with the overall service? Gets a value lesser than 4, that is 1, 2, and 3, and click on save. So you see this icon, this is just for your reference. So when you click on the preview, you don't see that question by default. If it's a 4 or 5 star, not a problem. If it's 3 star, you come up with the follow-up questions. And the surveys that you create in our tool, it's fully compatible across all the devices. This is a desktop view, and this is a tablet device view, and this is going to be a mobile device view. So you don't really need to worry about what devices your end user may use. So you can have the surveys created over here. And there's no limitations on the number of questions you can have. You can have any number of questions. And of course, you can also split the surveys into multiple pages. Depending on the type of surveys or the length of the survey, you can have multiple pages. Just using an add page, you can spread it into multiple pages as well. So once your questions are ready, you can get into the settings and add a logo to your survey. So you can directly drop the image here from your system. And these are some of the images which I had used in my past surveys. So that turns out to be like a gallery template. And customer satisfaction survey is the name that we gave for the survey. Whereas what would you like to display it on the header? So maybe I'll use my brand instead of customer satisfaction survey, like Zoho. You can have your brand. And for the footer, something like this. And next comes the preferences. You can enable page progress bar to let the audience know the number of pages left if it's a multiple page survey, so that they don't really skip or just close the survey, assuming that that would be many more pages. And captchas are highly recommended if you're looking to post surveys on social medias. And these are the name of the buttons. Maybe you want it like finish instead of submit. You can get it done. Make sure you click on save. And then comes the language, where you can translate the surveys into multiple languages. I'll use French. So for translation, we give you three options. One is to use Google Translate. The other is using editor. That is, if you know French, you can directly type the content in French for each of your questions and answer choices. And for using spreadsheet is something where you don't want to rely on Google, neither you know the language. So you can download the questions in a spreadsheet and share this spreadsheet with your translator, who can do the translation from English to French, and then you'll have an option to upload it back over here. So this way, we satisfy a requirement in terms of translation in multiple aspects. For now, I'll use Google Translate. And upon translation, you still have the option to edit it. So if there is any grammatical errors or something, you can definitely make changes to it manually over here and click on update, and that will fix it. So I had translated the surveys into French. Maybe we'll also try with Arabic for reference. So yeah, here we go. Let's click on the preview. Now, if you see on the top, you'll have the language to choose. This is what the audience is going to look at as well. So the survey opens up in French. Now, it's not just upon clicking the languages. If in case they had also set their default browser language as French, the survey is going to automatically open up in French for them, only if the survey has been translated. And for Arabic, you see the alignment would be from right to left for Arabic, and that is also taken care of its own. So, and this is where you translate the responses as well. So for English, French, or Arabic, maybe you want all the data back in English. You can just choose English over here and click on add. So all the data will come back to you in English for your better understanding. And here's where you set up the introduction page. So you can have a specific title and a description about the survey, like what would you like to convey them before they begin the survey. And you can also configure the terms and conditions. So this will be listed just below the introduction page. So you can have it so that you can enable this, like the next button can be enabled only upon agreeing the agreement, or display an error when someone clicks on the next button without accepting the agreement. So both ways we can set it up over there. And timers are also helpful depending on the type of surveys. For a quiz related surveys, you want to time them. like do not allow a maximum duration of beyond 30 minutes to complete the survey. Or you can also set up a minimum duration. Like I don't want random answers, so this survey will definitely take 10 minutes. So I don't want them to submit the survey before 10 minutes. That can also be set using the timer functionality. And the end page. So the custom message, this is where your default message comes in. Whereas you also have the option to have different end messages. So if someone gives you, so how likely are you going to recommend us to your friends or colleague? If this gets a value greater than 8, that is 9 and 10, for them, I'll ask them to be redirected to my Google reviews, put the URL. If someone gives you a rating less than 8, I mean less than 9, that is 0 to 8, for them, I can have this message, or I can even further split it up, like for the people who's between 5 and 8, give them a message of thank you for participating. Anyone who gets a value lesser than 5, tell them like, hey, sorry for your experience, our team will get in touch with you. You can have different messages as well. So this is what the survey end page can do. And then further moving into the themes. So you can apply any of the themes over here and further modify it to your taste. On the top left, you have the options like background, where this gray section is. Maybe you want to add some patterns, you can do that. And color customizations. And if you're looking at some specific colors to match your website, get the red, green, and blue value from your design team and enter the value over here. That will exactly match the color. Or you can also upload an image as part of your background. So both ways it can get it done. Next comes the header, where this yellow section is. You can again play with the colors or upload an image as well as part of the enter section over here. The size of the logos can also be increased depending on the usage. And the body where you have your survey questions, you can play between the spacing between the questions, the size of the question for the answers, every single aspect can be done. And finally, the footer, where you have powered by surveys, you can do some colorings over here as well. And looks good for me, but maybe this is white and this is in some other color. Let's also merge the background with the form. So coming back to the general and enabling the form opacity, and I'll just take it to some level so it goes well with the background. Make sure you click on save and apply and give it a name so that it will be saved under my themes. So you don't need to recreate this theme every single time for your future surveys. You can just come to your theme section under my themes and apply the theme that you have already created. So right from the top till the bottom, everything can be customized from fonts to the colors. Yeah, it is doable. Post themes, go to the launch and publish your survey. By publishing it, we are going to generate a unique link. So anyone who's going to access this link, they are going to leave a feedback for you. So as mentioned earlier, if you look at the link, you have something like zohopublic.com in it. This is where the subdomain helps. So you can host the surveys on your domain, like survey.xyz.com or forms.xyz.com. You can have any subdomain to make sure that it's from your brand. We also offer offline surveys. That is, if you're looking to do door-to-door surveys yourself or maybe with field executives, you can have the offline surveys working for you, because we can't really expect good internet connectivity wherever we go. So in this case, you can set up a password and click on activate, and we give you an offline link to the same survey. Now, what you need to do is copy this link and load it on your tablet device or your mobile device with the help of internet connectivity initially. And by loading it, it will ask you for the 6-digit password that you had set. Enter the password and click on OK. And at this time, you can bookmark the link. So from there, you can go offline, that is, even without internet connectivity. You can start collecting responses to your surveys, and all the responses, maybe you're reaching out to hundreds of families, all 100 responses will be stored on the same mobile or the tablet device. And when you come back online, that is when you go home or you go back to your office, you'll when you connect to internet connect when you connect to internet, you'll have an option to upload the response in a single click. So this way, you can have all the data has been collected. Now, this is not just for field surveys. Maybe you're hosting some events where you expect a large gathering, and due to high crowd, there could be interruptions in internet. So you can utilize it on multiple ways. Maybe you can also utilize this like a kiosk station. So anyone who leaves or passes by, they can also share a feedback for you. So offline surveys does help on this case. And we also offer a QR code. So anyone who's going to scan this code, they can also leave a feedback for you for the survey. And by response, for this, you can't have personal identification questions. You just need to stick to the questions. So let me just delete this specific question over here and come back to launch. So what is the total responses that you need? And what is the target audience? So I'll choose United States and specific region, maybe. So we had, let's say this and Washington. So we'll have two regions being targeted. And then we'll have the gender. Maybe you want male specific, female specific, or both. You can also balance it. Maybe I want it like 60% from females and 40% from male. And then what should be the age? That is 18 to 40. Household income. So what should be the earnings? It could be, maybe it works for you, all these categories. That is anyone who's earning lesser than $100,000 per year, that works for you. So you can check all these aspects. And the marital status, maybe if required, you can have it. So whatever, maybe let's say you have no problem with this, but upon checking all these options, what happens is when the data comes in, you'll have the data like whether they are married or they are separated or they divorced, whatever they fall under the category, that will be listed as a variable within the response. But if you don't check any, and of course, both works. I mean, even if you're going to check all or you're not going to check, anyway, you have the data, but you can't really identify whether they are a single or they are married. So any kind of data that is applicable, you'll have much better understanding in terms of analyzing the data. Some maybe today you don't need those data, but later it may help. And what kind of education qualification they need to have, you can select that. And the employment status, something like self-employed or full-time, part-time, anything that you can have over here. And the industry sectors, you can just choose whatever is relevant or appropriate for you. And now let's calculate the price for this. So the cost for 100 responses is around 175 US dollars. That is $1.75 for every single response. That's the cost you need to pay when you don't have the right audience to target, whereas, or you don't have enough time to get the job done. You can rely on us. But if in case you already know who they are or whom to target, you don't need to pay for this. You can directly share the link to them using any tool of your choice and get the job done. We also have pop-up surveys. So you can design where exactly the survey needs to come at what particular time and so on. And then you have the option to generate a code. Now give this link to your web developer who can take care of adding the survey on your website using a pop-up, or use the iframe or the HTML links to add it on your website for a direct embed. So this is pretty much about what we do in terms of the survey creations, the designing the surveys and launching it out to your audience. Now let's look into the reporting aspect as well. I'll just open a sample report to help you better understand how it works. So under reports, we give you three options. That is summary. Over here, you get to know how many people clicked on your link. Out of those, how many have answered, and out of those, how many have fully answered and partially answered. And if you come down a bit more, so this is overall NPS. So when you have multiple NPS questions in a survey form, it's going to calculate the average of both the questions. And overall CSAT score is something like, with the help of rating scale questions, star ratings, NPS, you're going to get the average of all rating scale questions together. That's the overall average, or the overall customer satisfaction score. If you come down a bit more, you're going to look into the data of every single questions over here. So how did you hear about us? So booking.com has been chosen by 21%, where Google Ads, it's like 5%. So you understand what are the key factors and others. Now, we thought maybe these are the commonly used things, but there are other tools as well. So around 10.5% of people have chosen others. So you can also really concentrate on the other platforms, where you can spend l- very much like a fraction of the amount that you use for major players and still get quality leads out of it. And the charts that you look at over here can be fully customized. Maybe you're more comfortable with the bar chart, you can do that as well. And the color palettes as well can be customized. And if you come down, you'll have a statistics like what percentage of people choose what. So the leading is 26.32 for TripAdvisor as well as for recommendations. So both these things really works for this. Something like that. You take quick insights with the summary of responses for all the close-in questions with the graphs and the stats below. Now, what happens with the open-end questions is, as mentioned earlier, we give you two kinds of analytics. One is sentimental analysis. So this determines the tone. That is, 75% of the people are happy with happy with whatever they are trying to convey, and 25% is on a neutral note. Whereas word cloud, it gives you quick insights about what they are trying to convey. It's not just the tone. So with the word cloud, so this is a hospitality related survey. And the question is like, please let us know what made your experience great. So people say like the service was good, or the ambience was pleasant, the food tastes better. So you take easy understanding about what they are trying to convey over here. And you can export all these data into a spreadsheet or a PDF, or you can even view it in Zoho Sheet. Zoho Sheet is a straight competitor to Google Sheets, and it is a free tool. Whereas with individual responses, you can look into the data manually one by one over here. So basically identify the IP address of the respondent, when did they answer the survey, how much time did they take, followed by the answers to your survey questions. And you can export the individual responses into a spreadsheet, PDF, or a zip file, SPSS, CSV, or as a Tableau extract as well. So it's as simple as that. And finally, dashboards. It's a site-to-site comparison of the summary of responses, and of course, you can also design your own dashboards and share it with your stakeholders as well. So yeah, this is pretty much about what we had planned for today in terms of the surveys, how it works for you. So surveys are something, it's not a one-time thing to do. It's a repeated or a continuous process where you evolve with the data that you gather throughout the cycle. So don't just stop with a single or multiple surveys. Keep doing surveys to survive in the market or do better with what you're actually doing today. Surveys can help you not just decide what you want, it also helps you in understanding what the consumer wants, and don't just play with the assumption, play with the data. So quality data has been collected when you reach out to your direct prospects or customers, and based out of that, you can derive your business way better. So that's all about Zoho Survey. And you can also reach out to sales@zohosurvey.com if you'd like to have a personalized demo based on your requirements, or you want to have a chat with our experts. We can set up a call or a meeting based on your convenience. And if you're an existing customer, you can always write to support@zohosurvey.com to answer all your queries. So yeah, we We do have AI in our product, but we don't use AI for customer service. We direct humans work directly on this sales and service to make sure that a human touch is really required for better understanding your requirements and assist further on it. Feel free to follow us on social media handles like LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook to never ever miss out an update from us. So we'll keep all our announcements on social media handles. It could be a new feature enhancement or future webinars or podcast. We work with multiple aspects and the marketing is really aggressive. So to know anything about us, please do follow us on these channels. Thank you. Have a great day and bye bye.